Today's guest is Wayne Prose. Wayne is a veteran of the United States Army and is a retired lieutenant from the Illinois Department of Corrections. Wayne is also a multiple-time world champion powerlifter, where he still holds various world records. He recently rode his bike across the state of Missouri and joins us today to discuss his life and his thoughts on weightlifting. So please enjoy this episode with my good friend, Wayne Prose. Hey.
All right.
So, I was thinking about this today. This is the first time you and I have been face-to-face since we both retired.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. You think about all those years, over 27 years,
Yes.
we were doing our thing out there.
Yep.
How are you enjoying retirement?
I should have done it 27 years ago.
Yeah.
That's about the best thing I can say.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you find that, like, time, it's like you're still busy?
yeah, but it seems like time flies.
It does.
I don't know, man. The days are fast.
Yeah.
Just quick.
It's nuts. It's like I'll get, we put a pond up at the farm,
Right.
We've been doing, various projects and stuff. And it's almost like, man, how did I ever have time to go to work, fit
Yeah.
work in with everything?
I know it.
It's crazy.
And it's easy to waste a lot of time too,
Well,
being retired.
And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm wasting more time than really being productive.
I think I am too.
But you know what? For a while, I think a guy needs to do that.
Yeah. I was real busy when I first retired. I was, doing some remodel, finishing projects that I've been working on forever, put off, and finally got, finished a bathroom and a few other little things around the house. And I still have a bunch to do. I just,
Sure. I'm the same way.
got to get the money and the,
Yeah.
I don't like to take a loan out on anything. So,
Yeah, and then it's like, well, how much do I take from here, and how much do I?
Yeah.
Because it's got to.
Yep.
Yeah. You're looking 20 years down the road too,
Yeah.
and yeah, sure. So, all right, Wayne. You and I have known each other a long time. I worked longer with you at the prison than anybody. We've shared campfires all over this country.
Yep.
What was your early childhood like? You grew up in Taylorville,
Yeah.
Illinois, blue collar, middle class.
Yeah, I grew up in Taylorville, me, my mom, dad, my sister, and I got one older sister. And, typical 70s, 80s, early 90s childhood, lived in town.
Your dad was a truck driver.
Truck driver most of my life, yeah. Then he ended up welding for the end of his working days.
Uh-huh.
My mom stayed at home most of my life until, I don't know, probably junior high. And then she went back to work as a dental assistant.
And let me ask you this. I know whenever you went into service, did you know, at what age did you know you were going to go in the military?
Young.
Yeah.
Young. Growing up, and I've got it in my bedroom, my spare bedroom. It's my grandpa and all his brothers, their service pictures.
Mm-hmm.
My dad and his brothers, their service pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Me, my cousins, their service pictures.
Right.
And then there's an eagle and my grandpa left that to me when he died.
Wow.
And so, it's always been in my house. So as a kid, that was the Wall of Fame. That's what I always called it.
Yeah.
I
want to be on there someday.
Yeah, that was kind of what it is.
Just waiting for your turn.
Yep.
So you decided to go into
I went to the Army.
Why?
Probably because my dad was in the Army.
Yeah.
And I had no interest in the Air Force or the Navy, really.
Right.
My grandpa was in the Navy, but the Marines, I was kind of between the Army and the Marines and chose the Army.
You enlisted too, and we joke a lot about your
I am a 52 Delta.
Which is?
Power Generation Equipment Repairer.
Or as we like to call the most special operator in
the entire,
service.
There's only one.
Right, yeah.
And I joke about this a lot. I've never met another generator mechanic.
I never have either.
There was a whole pile of them when I was in.
Right.
But I've met a lot of snipers and going to be snipers and going to be
Green Berets
and
Navy SEALs, yeah.
Yep.
But you don't meet generator mechanics.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you enlist to be a generator mechanic. And I know because we've discussed this, I think a lot like with me. Dad, I enlisted at 17. And he's like, you had to have parental signature. And Dad was like, okay, I'll sign it under one condition: you don't go infantry. Because, of course,
Right.
Dad being infantry and NOM. So I was an FO, which he was pretty upset about. But
it's not infantry.
But I think, yeah, I kept my word.
Yeah.
I think it was a similar thing for you. And you were kind of more, you were a shade tree mechanic kind of. You always like motors.
Growing up, I mean, I always joke when you grow up poor, you learn to work on things.
Sure.
So, Dad was always working on his work trucks and whatever we had. And I kind of liked that stuff, but honestly, when I enlisted, I didn't want to be a mechanic. That was my thing. I don't want to be a mechanic. I wanted to be, of course, this is during the drawdown after the war.
Right.
I enlisted in 91, so
okay, that's right after Desert Storm.
Yeah, jobs were short. They didn't need anybody to re-enlist. We just rolled through the third largest army in the world. And,
sure.
So.
And I would argue, I think that's maybe America's greatest military victory. I would argue that. I mean, people don't realize what it was like. You and I do.
Right.
Before and what the news was saying back home and how bad it was going to be. I think we were the third. They were the fourth largest army, I think.
Is that what it was?
Something like that. But it was number 3 and number 4. They had all the Soviet equipment. I mean, it was, he was going to use weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
It was, And that was a big thing during that time.
Yes.
And then we walked through them just like
nothing.
I mean,
I hate to say that.
No, for the guys that were there, it wasn't nothing. But I mean, it was just incredible. So you're post that, as I was, because I came in later in 91, but you were in 92.
92.
You enlisted in 91.
And left in 92, July 1st. Yeah.
Delayed entry program, yeah.
And then set in reception for like 8 weeks.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was miserable. They moved us into like World War II barracks. It was miserable.
Man, that would have been hard.
You weren't allowed to do PT, couldn't do anything. Just sit there and wait.
Just around people that...
Yeah.
Because everybody coming in acts stupid.
Oh,
because you're all a bunch of young kids.
A bunch of roosters out there finding their place.
Yep. Man, I bet that would have been. So you're sitting there waiting. And you finally get a date. You report.
Yep.
To basic.
But go to basic training with all the guys basically that I was in reception with.
Okay.
I think it was 8 weeks maybe. No, it was 4 weeks. In reception, that's what it was. Not 8 weeks, 4 weeks. Still 4 weeks.
Still, it's a month. Yeah,
of not doing anything.
Right.
I was in decent shape when I got there. Well, sit for 4 weeks, and
Yeah.
I mean, I could still pass a PT test.
Right.
But,
right.
Yeah.
So you do your basic training at Fort Jackson.
Fort Jackson.
And then now, where was your AIT?
Fort Belvoir, Virginia.
Okay.
It's 15 minutes out of DC.
Okay.
When you walked around, you were constantly saluting. I mean,
I bet.
Every car had a bird on it.
Yeah.
Or a star.
Right.
It was Fort Beautiful is what they called it.
Okay.
And it was in the timber. I mean, it was small post. It was nice.
Right. And how long were you there for?
I think it was supposed to be 17 weeks.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a pretty long. I think my AIT was 8 weeks or 6 weeks.
And they reduced us down. I don't remember 11 or 12 because of Christmas coming up.
Okay.
So they crammed everything in and
Christmas exodus.
Yep. And then flew out. Like there was a big storm there in 92. A bunch of people out east got killed. And it was coming in, I was going out. I was delayed hours and hours, and my flight to Springfield from Chicago was canceled, and they could fly me into Decatur.
And you're just wanting to get home.
Yeah, and I really didn't know most of this was going on.
Right.
So I had a phone.
Right, yeah. Yeah, this is pre-cell phone days, and when you're that young, you hardly ever pay attention to the news, at least I did.
Yeah, and I didn't have a TV or anything anyway.
Right, yeah, well, yeah.
Actually TWA had contacted my mom and dad, and that's who worked it out with where I was flying and going. I got off the plane, and there was some girl standing there with a sign with my name on it. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. And she's like, hey, your flight's canceled. You got to go with me. We got to go now. So we're running with all my junk.
Right.
Class A's.
Oh, yeah. And you got your duffel bags.
Hare Krishnas are in the way.
Right.
Back before September 11th. And we're running across O'Hare trying to get, my hard Class A shoes,
no sole,
terrible,
no tread on them at all. Yeah,
and got over to where I was going to go and able to fly into Decatur. My mom and dad were waiting for me.
I'll be darned.
Yeah,
I bet that. Well, I know what that feels like. It's nice to finally get home. So you come home for Christmas. You're there, and then you get. I assigned to Fort
Carson,
Carson, that's
Colorado.
right.
Yeah, it's
Fort
Colorado
Carson.
Springs.
Yep. And then you did your enlistment there.
Yes.
Okay. Did you? That area is awesome.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's wasted on a 18-year-old kid sometimes. You know, I've been back several times, and I think, man, why did I ever leave this place? And it's a lot bigger now, probably than it was when I was there.
Sure. And probably a lot different.
It is.
The vibe.
But it's still, like, of all the bigger cities I've ever been in, that's like one of the ones I think I could live in.
Right.
It's spread out.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's nice.
Yeah. We went there a couple years ago on vacation, and we really enjoyed it. I wanted to go out, and I wanted to see the Air Force Academy.
Yes.
Because I had an uncle that graduated there, and there's so much to do there, like you say.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's cool. So you did your time there. Now
I'll tell you a funny story about the Air Force Academy with me and my wife and my daughter. So I don't remember what year it was, 17 maybe. We drive out. We go to do all the things in Colorado Springs, and we got there and our hotel wasn't ready. Well, we're staying on the north end of town anyway. We'll just go ahead and do our Air Force Academy now.
Sure.
And so we pull up to the gate. Gate guard comes out. We tell him what we're there for. Sir, do you have any drugs or weapons in your vehicle? No, sir, nothing. And Jennifer is about the worst on keeping a straight face.
Eyes bulged out, gripping the.
She looks like she's gonna pass out. She was a nervous wreck the entire time. I will say I didn't have any drugs in my car.
Yeah.
So
it's not drugs. Yeah.
But it was funny.
That's funny. Yeah. You know, that's a good point. That's something that frustrates me. Because everybody they travel with a weapon.
Yes.
I mean, why wouldn't you nowadays, right? You know, so if you go to wherever, and like you said, you're waiting on, especially military bases, you can't legally carry a weapon onto a military base.
No.
That's to me, they ought to have some type of a locker, and I get it because there's terrorists and whoever. But you would think they would have some kind of like we have in corrections. Whenever we take, how many times have we taken inmates to court?
Right.
You drive through some kind of, either they have a sally port or you just park out front, you walk in and they either let you take your weapon or you got a little locker and you lock it in and you get your key. And you're the only one that has a key to it. I don't know why they don't do something like that.
I wouldn't want to be the guy taking the weapon from people because I've taken, I've taken hundreds of weapons from work.
Sure.
And, one time I was working in the Armory, went on lunch break. The CIA came through this after September 11th to talk to a guy. Or not CIA, Secret Service.
Okay.
Came to talk to a guy. So I come in, and the guy I was working with is like, his weapon's back there. And I walk, and there's I think a SIG P229. I walk back, I look at it, magazine's in it. Reach down, pop the mag out, pull a slide back.
Bing, a round popped out.
Yep. So I put it all back together empty. And then passed it out to him. Didn't tell him I cleared it. I thought, and he passed it through. But, it wasn't to me, but barrel first,
right?
Loaded.
Of course he did. Yeah, because why would you clear the weapon and hand it?
So this is a trained,
of course,
government employee. So,
well, we just saw what happened, and with the president being shot in the ear here not too long ago, and well, we don't want to go down that, but.
Right.
Everybody, it's like there's two sides. You're either hating on the CIA or the Secret Service, or they made obviously some horrible mistakes leading up to that.
Right.
But to me, when you look at what they did on that stage, they did their job.
They did, yeah.
I mean, they covered him, they got him down, and then they got him off the X. But yeah, well, and it just goes to show on anything. Whenever you become a part of the Army, of corrections, of I don't care what unit, what it is, a lot of times you find, it's not what I really kind of thought it was, There are exceptions to that.
100%.
We both have been around, different units or different people that you're blown away by. But yeah. So, okay. So you do 2 years plus training.
Yes.
And how did you like the job of being a generator mechanic? Did you enjoy that? Did you do a lot of field time? Was it?
We did some field. I mean, not a lot of field time. Of course, when you're in the field and you're the generator guy, everything's at night because people, either forget to put fuel in them, put the wrong, because we had some that were gas, some that were diesel.
Right.
They'd put diesel in the gas, so you're siphoning fuel in the middle of the night. And, but really I worked more on vehicles than I did generators,
And you didn't want to be a mechanic.
And I didn't want to be a mechanic. And, of course, they play you the cool video.
Oh, yeah.
And my whole thing was there's a power plant, right by Taylorville.
Right.
Maybe I can get out of the Army.
Because power plant was in the title of the job.
Yeah,
right?
that was part of the thing. Like I was going to be creating electricity. I was going to learn how to do all this cool stuff. And I thought, man, I'll get me a job at the power plant when I get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do your 2.5 years active time, then you come back and you're in the active reserves.
National Guard is what I went.
National Guard.
Oh, yeah, I went to Illinois National Guard.
Now, can you do reserves? Do you know? I wonder.
Yeah.
Is it, okay.
You can do either one.
It has to be one of the two.
And that was all taken care of when I was ETSing. I sat down with a recruiter, and he sat down. He's like, I got this. This one's in Springfield. Is that close to you? I'm like, yep, that's perfect. He's like, okay, you're in the National Guard now.
All right.
And then he's like, hey, you get a bonus if you go ahead and extend. He's like, you got to do it anyway. He's like, we'll extend you, and he's like, you'll get more money. Well,
okay.
That's what I did.
Yeah, cool. So you come, you report to your National Guard unit, you check in with those guys, and you were with them for a couple years.
Yeah.
You did a deployment with them, didn't you? Didn't you go to Italy or no?
Yeah, for a 2-week rotation.
I say a deployment, but yeah. I mean,
I did. I went there, had a great time.
Oh, I bet you're in Italy.
Yeah. And I was a little older than I was, I was 21, a little less dumb than I was when I was 18.
Sure.
And we didn't go anywhere where the Americans were. There was like 4 of us. One kid could speak German, one kid could speak Spanish. I barely speak English. We were good because everybody overseas speaks 2-3 languages.
Right.
So we were covered. We had a ball.
Oh.
Rented a car, couldn't read a sign, drove all over.
That's the way to do it.
Had a great time.
Those adventures when you're young, you're single,
yep.
You're in the prime of your youth, and you're doing stuff like that, man, and all the little funny little anecdotes that happen when you're there. But yeah, that's cool. What was this is a dumb question. The food had to have just been
incredible.
Just incredible.
Yeah. We actually went, it was like on a Sunday, and we were in our little car driving. I don't even know where we were going. Needed something to eat. And there's an off-ramp in a little town. So we'll swing in here. It's noon. And there's nothing. I mean, the streets are dead. We find this little restaurant, and we walk in, and there's nobody in there. But there's like a room in the back, and you can see the family. There's the mom, the dad, like 3 or 4 daughters, and a son. And we're trying to back out. Oh, sorry. And they're like, no, come in. They were eating or whatever it was. And I can't read the menu. Everything's in Italian. This isn't a tourist area. It'd be like...
So this really is a restaurant.
Yeah, this is a restaurant.
And obviously they live there.
Yeah. So it would be like sliding into Pana and not speaking a bit of English.
That probably wouldn't work in Pana, but maybe
an example like, a town about that size, maybe a little smaller. And I can't read the menu. And the mom is standing behind me. The daughters, they spoke some Spanish and a little bit of English, and they're talking to me, and they're like, hey, she said she'll take care of you. It was tortellinis, like 5 different kinds.
Oh, wow.
It was incredible.
Wow.
We left tips like
sure.
we do. Well, they run out and they've got our money for us. Oh no, you overpaid. Like, no, that's they wouldn't take
Isn't that
it.
Cool,
and, it was nice.
That's one of the few times when young GIs left a positive.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because usually it doesn't go that way. That's cool. So you're living at home. You're doing the National Guard, and did you get to work on generators at all in the National Guard?
Yeah,
really,
a little bit.
Okay, so it's about like the active side.
Yeah,
on that aspect.
And like when I went to Italy. They were going through, we worked at a depot when I was in Italy.
Okay.
And so we're doing like a 10-20 standard thing, trying to get everything up to par. And I'd done that quite a bit.
Right.
In the Army and in the regular Army. But mostly what I did was I had a license for about everything. So I drove a Hemet. They had a Hemet record. Nobody knew how to drive it. So
that's big stuff there.
Yeah, so I drove the Hemet record most of the time.
Oh, that's cool.
I'd go road trip in it and bring it back.
Yeah. Okay. So now DOC.
Okay.
That was 96 when you hired in DOC. What drew you to?
I was going to school at Lincoln Land, and I had an issue with my GI Bill. I was working construction, going to school, wasn't getting paid for my GI Bill. There was two guys that worked out at the same time I did at the Y. Like, hey, you get a job at the prison. I'm like, I don't want to work in no prison.
Right.
Well, then I'm not getting money, so I go and take the test, and a few months later I get called and actually was in the field in Marseilles, Illinois, with the National Guard. I came out of the field on Sunday night I got home at 10 o'clock at night and started the academy Monday morning. So
wow,
that was
quick.
Yeah.
So you do the academy, and it's just like basic training. Everybody's got those crazy academy stories,
which I thought was about the easiest thing I've ever done.
Oh, I remember when I got there. So this is my. I get to Taylorville, and then you had to park your car at the prison, and then they would drive you up, drop you off. So I'm getting there day one, Monday morning. Pull in, and I see a guy pacing back and forth out there with the drill instructor's, Smokey the Bear hat on. And
right.
There's a few other cadets, they're locked up or parade rest, whatever. So they open up and they're like, hey, I got one for you. And so I go walking down, get off the bus, and he stares at me and he's like, set your bag right there. And he goes, go put your feet on the line. Yes, sir. I'm military stuff, so I drop it off and I'm standing at parade rest. And anyway, so they're waiting, the rest of them come in. Finally, they get enough. Everybody's there that's supposed to be there. And they're like, all right, here's what you're going to do. You're going to turn, you're going to walk down and blah, 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 go into that little auditorium thing they've got there. So we walk and we all fill in the seats, fill it in. You get over here, Then he stops and he takes his hat off and he's like, now, he goes, what you guys just experienced, he goes, we can make the whole next 6 weeks be like that. He goes, or he goes, we can deal with you and I'm like, wait a minute, this has got to be a joke.
Where's the cameras?
Yeah. I'm like, there is no way, I think they're getting better about the way they do the academy now. It seems like, cause I look back and so much of the stuff they had you doing it just wasn't realistic. Like, I don't think we ever counted one time.
No.
And that's like one of the most important things you do.
Absolutely. And of course, every institution counts different. They all have, there's so many variances in what every place does,
They ought to have, whenever you go into a classroom, you sit down, and it ought to rotate every day, okay? Me and you are in charge today. We count them, we put them in, and if somebody has to use the bathroom, sign them out a call pass.
Yeah.
To me, it ought to be just, but what do we know?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
The good thing is I don't have to know anything anymore.
Exactly. And that's, gosh, isn't that nice?
And I went kind of radio silent for a month, trying not to talk to anybody from DOC when I retired.
Yep.
But I would constantly get messages from people asking me questions, and it was multiple people, and I'm trying to explain to them, I don't know. It doesn't matter what I think. I'm not there anymore. I'm not there anymore.
I'm gone.
There's new people to do that.
Right.
Go ask them.
And I think you and I both know people that have wrapped their identity up in being prison guards.
Yes.
And I think for most of us, there comes a point when you realize you're just a warm body in a post.
That's all you are.
And I think for those of us that were in the military, we realized in the military that's all you are.
Yes.
And that's all I am here.
Yeah. We had an advantage, I think. There was a lot of us that all hired at the same time or close together that were very similar, same backgrounds.
Yep.
We all kind of had it figured out. We did our jobs.
100%.
100%. But I also know that if I left today, they'd fill a spot tomorrow and never miss a beat.
There's somebody that's a lieutenant right now out there that took your job.
Yeah.
There's somebody that, well, of course, I know who filled my job. Well, you probably know who filled your job too. And, good guys. Yeah. Just like, the guy before me was, and right. we just passed the baton on to the next guy.
Yep. And you and I have talked about this because I always, we both always did our jobs.
Absolutely.
And there was people that probably thought, Prose and Rueff, man, those guys live for this stuff. And we would joke about it,
Oh, yeah. We might be down at a campfire in South Texas, hunting hogs and laughing about something that could,
Yeah.
It's like I remember I had somebody tell me one time they were really worried about getting promoted. They weren't getting promoted. And they were really, really stressed about it. I mean, to the point they were, and I'm like, why are you so worried about this? And he was just, oh man, I look at guys I went to the academy with and they're already sergeants and lieutenants and, he's really, and I'm like, who cares about it? I said, eventually, I'm like, you do your job. You're not a scumbag. You're going to get promoted. It's going to happen. You just got to wait, you know?
Wait your time.
And I don't know. I'd made some negative comments, I think, overall. And then he was like, yeah, but you're not that way. He goes, I look at you. And he mentions you too. He was like, you guys, you do your jobs. And I said, do you think that's for them? And you're the same way. We've discussed it. I do that for me.
Yes. It's the way I was raised.
I was raised. Yeah. I can't do anything less than I'm doing now and not call myself a man.
Yes.
Because it isn't like it's a real physically demanding job, But yeah, you do that for yourself. I'm not doing that, so hopefully my fingers are crossed. Some supervisor's going to see.
Maybe they'll notice.
They're going to notice me. Yeah.
No, when I get enough seniority, I'll get a spot.
That's it. If you're not a dirtbag, you do your job, wait your time. You're going to get those spots. And there again, I think guys like us realize that, and we don't wrap our identity up in that,
No.
But now you did about maybe halfway. You transferred to Decatur. Which is a female prison. So you went from working with male inmates to female inmates, which I would never do.
No, it's horrible.
Honestly,
it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
They didn't bother me.
Right.
They stayed away from me.
And why is that? Why do you think? I mean, I know why, but can you articulate why some guys they don't mess with versus others? I'm talking about specifically female
inmates. And it's kind of the same with male inmates.
Sure.
They know I'm never gonna. I have a line.
Right.
And you're never gonna cross that line.
Right. So
I tried, as corny as it sounds, the firm, fair, consistent thing. It works.
That it does work.
And I give everyone the same answer. If you have it coming, I'm going to give it to you. If you don't, you're not going to get it.
And bat in the eyes.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Work.
They would come to my desk and, Officer Prose, can I? And whoa, take 3 steps back. What do you mean? Take 3 steps back. I'd make them step 3 steps away from my desk. Okay, let's talk.
Right.
What do you need?
Right.
I never, I don't know.
It's funny, just working in corrections and being an officer, if you think about it, like you said, a lot of the men and women, it's the same thing. They just come at you in different ways. And how, there are inmates, because you and I worked housing units. And we were in Forehouse for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, we had that.
Could have retired out of that.
Oh, I know. That was a sweet gig too. But okay, I'm jumping around here, but I was thinking about a conversation that you remember when we had a guy come out one day and he started telling about what he was in there for. And you and I are both just sitting there listening. And he talked about, I don't want to get too specific, but it was a custody and he'd killed his wife. And he's talking about how he slit her throat and this and that.
In front of her family.
In front of the family. And you and I are just sitting there listening to him, which, you're just, and then he gets this grin comes across his face. And he's like, yeah, they still talk about me in that town. And then he turns around and he goes back down the wing, and I remember you were facing away from me in the chair and I was standing up, by the desk. And I remember you just did this little movie slow turn and just kind of look at me and we just are staring at each other. Just the casual nature in which he talked about, cutting her throat in front of.
He was almost foaming at the mouth, getting so excited talking about that.
Yeah, just a grin and man, you just.
So proud of himself.
Yeah. Minimum security.
Yeah, and that's what you dealt with all day long. Not every day, but those people, and it wears on you over time.
Well, and of course at our prison we had so many sex offenders.
Yeah.
And I guess the bigger point I was going to make was there are guys that we had locked up that if I've ran into them.
Right.
They come up to me, shake my hand. Hey, Mr. Rueff, how you doing? Good. How are you doing? Man, I'm great. I've got a job. I'm doing. It's like, man, I love hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I guarantee we could run into guys that would be like, man, those guys are pieces of crap. I hate, because there always has to be this line of professionalism there. But the reality of it is there are guys that are locked up that you like.
Yeah.
I mean, there always has to maintain that professionalism,
Right.
but you know, and you know, there again, not everybody at Taylorville was in for a sex offense. You know,
Yeah,
we had
correct.
drug dealers and serial killers and
murderers and DUIs and
it's and a minimum
everything in
security.
between.
You get everything. And your park counselor, because I've thought about how many times I've helped guys do their homework.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yep.
How many times we'd have kids come out and they'd be like, you know, hey, Mr. Prose, Mr. Rueff, can you help me with? I'm having an issue, and it's like, yeah, come here, let me see that. You know, and you I don't know, it's a weird dynamic.
A lot of things.
Yeah. But all right, let's get into your powerlifting, Wayne.
Okay.
So you and I have always joked, because you've always said, well, anybody can, you know, do what I do, but that's not true. Not everybody can do it. Some people are genetically can just run under a 6-minute mile fairly easy. Some guys can bench press, you know, 300-400 pounds easier. When did you start lifting?
Pretty young. I always did push-ups, pull-ups. Was always, you know, I'm not a big guy. I'm a pretty
Well, you're not tall.
yeah, and I was small as a kid, you know, but I was always strong. I was stronger than most people,
Right.
Even though I was much smaller than everybody.
Right.
I still have, you know, I've got my little home gym, you know, which you've seen.
Which I got some weights before you leave. Remind
Okay.
me to give you those weights.
Okay. Which, you know, I've added stuff since you've seen it, you know.
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous, really.
Right.
But, you know, it's my little sanctuary. And but I've got a weight set out there that's an Olympic style, you know, cast iron that I bought in 1988
Wow.
at Sam's.
I'll be darned.
So
you've been lifting for
long
a
time,
while.
yeah. As a freshman in high school, you know, and people say, no, you didn't, but you know, that's fine. I weighed 120 pounds
Okay.
125 maybe,
Right.
by the end of my year, and I benched 210.
That's awesome.
So
And that's just natural. That
14 years old, you know, not a clue what I'm doing.
Right. And with no coaching, no
No.
nothing. You just,
Yep.
yeah. And now the bench press is your best lift.
Yeah, that's my best. And at one time, squat was probably my best.
Mm-hmm.
And I popped my knee one time in the Army, and I got to where when I would squat, my leg would like collapse.
Ooh.
So for years, all I did was like 275 for a set of 20, and that was my leg workout, you know.
That's still, you know, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not nothing. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
Yeah.
so let's get into your actual career.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I know you're a world champion.
Yes.
You're a state champion. I guess with the worlds comes national championships.
Yeah.
When did you first start competing and where? At like what level? Like obviously locally.
Local. My very first meet was kind of a funny one. It was in Springfield, and it was body weight for most repetitions. And I just showed up at it. I didn't train
Body
for it.
weight for most reps. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's not really a power thing. That's more of a muscular endurance
Yes.
thing. Okay.
So I show up at it, 190 pounds, and I'm the first one to go. And I'm very strict. You know, you've seen me lift. I'm very strict.
Sure.
So they're like, oh, we're going to be so strict on this. And I did, you know, pauses, locked out at the top. You know, each rep was as it should be.
You did it right.
I did 190 for like 30-something times, 32, 33 times or whatever.
At 190.
At
That's your
190.
body
Yes,
weight.
my body weight. And I lost to two guys that bounced it and didn't lock a single rep out.
Right.
You know, and I was mad because it was supposed to pay out money and it didn't. And, you know, I was mad.
Sure.
And I was like 20.
Because in your mind, I'm the winner. I
Yeah,
did it right. These guys did it right.
Yeah. And they had excuses. So then, you know, that was before I worked corrections. Then there used to be a federation called Sunlight Power, SLP. Dr. Darrell Latch, he was out of Tuscola or Sullivan. I forget where he was at. But he did little meets all over. That was his job.
Okay.
You know, they traveled everywhere, small gyms. And I did one in Shelbyville when I worked corrections. And I'd had a tweak in my pec before I went down there, and I think I was probably a 198, and I think I benched, you know, maybe 400.
Okay.
You know, nothing crazy.
That's still a lot of weight.
Well,
That's a lot of weight, man. You're doubling your own body weight.
and that's what I've benched double my body weight, or close to, most of my life, really, since I was probably 15 or 16.
Right.
That's all I always consider strong.
Double your body weight.
Double your body weight.
I remember the first time whenever you and I were, rookies out there at the prison, and we were both on the TAC team, and I think I'd signed up to do the crisis intervention team.
Oh, yeah.
We got roped into that.
Yep.
And you're like, well, hey, you want to start lifting? I'm like, yeah, because I never lifted before. Which you wrestled and you played football. And, wrestling, you don't really lift weights.
Right.
It's more push-ups, set-ups, running, that, pull-ups, that kind of stuff. And, which, we had a few weights out in the barn that I'd mess, light, but never, not serious. So I thought, yeah, I'd like to start getting into lifting. I remember the first time we go over there and, I'll put like 135 on down there, and I get underneath it and I warm up, I'd do my set and you warm up, and then, or maybe it was backwards. Yeah, because I think you were going to go first, and it's like, all right, and you grab a plate, put it on. And I'm like, okay, I'm adding it up in my head. I'm like, well, that's 225. I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of weight. And of course, we're young in our early 20s, and you grab another one, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's that's 315 pounds, and you get underneath it. I'm like, hey, hold on, because I didn't really know you that well.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, that's 315 pounds, and you're like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, thinking, okay, either. Up to that point, you'd seem pretty normal to me. We got along really great. We kind of hit it off, and I'm thinking, well, either you're delusional or you're really strong. And I remember telling you, and it was just you and I in the weight room. I'm like, hey, if something happens, man, I don't know if I'm going to have to probably peel these weights off, and you're like, no, I'm good. I'm like, okay. And I, kind of help you, I guess, get it off. And then you just started repping them. And I'm like, holy crap. That's why I'm like, hey, this guy actually knows what he's talking about, So you really got into like the big stuff, though. I remember it seemed like after you went to Decatur.
It was around that time. We opened a gym. I kind of helped run a gym called the Lockup in Taylorville.
Is it still going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a different owner and everything now, but it's still, probably one of the best gyms in the country, honestly. Equipment wise, and just, I haven't been in for years. I mean, it's not a key, but
at one time, didn't you guys, when you guys were all lifting, have like the second or third most like 500 pound or 600 or something?
Yeah, we had, because we had a small group, of course, but we had guys come from several places, but yeah, there was a world record wise, there were, 6 or 8 guys that all had.
In a town of, what's the population of Taylorville?
11.5.
11, yeah.
Yeah.
And to get that, normally you're in cities of hundreds of thousands or millions, yeah.
And it was, and we had people coming from all over the country to train, and, I think we opened up in 2003. We had our first meet in 2003. Then it was a Darrell Latch SLP meet, and we just had it just kind of get people for something to do.
Sure.
And actually I met an inmate one time who was a power lifter, and he's talking to me, and he was not a very big guy. And we get to talking, and he asked me about, lifting, and I'm like, this is what I do. Well, you should compete. I'm like, it's not that great. No, it's, pretty good.
Right.
And so I did a meet, and I win. I do another meet, and I win, and I usually would, win by a little bit. And so having those SLP meets, and then kind of gets me going into looking into it more. And it was always hard in corrections because I always worked weekends.
Right. So
that was a lot of times I couldn't compete because I was at work. So I get a couple guys, and I'm doing my thing, and then I find more meets, and then I lifted in, it's called the World Association of Bench Pressers and Deadlifters, WABDL, and I did a meet with them. It's a drug tested, and then it was what you call a single ply, because there was no, now everything is raw powerlifting with no bench shirts. That wasn't a thing. There was no raw powerlifting when I started. It was you competed in a shirt. That's how you competed because
Right.
it held you together, kept you from getting hurt. Like all things,
Sure.
technology advances. People learn how to use things. You get bigger numbers, and then they start adding plies and extra layers of
Like anything, it gets out of hand.
It's out of hand,
Right,
and
yeah.
the unlimited powerlifting now is completely out of hand. Guys are benching 1,400 pounds or 1,300. It's completely out of control.
Right. Yeah.
That's
And moving it an inch and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, still, I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
but,
you have to find that mechanical advantage of. I mean, you're there. You're not there to look pretty.
Right.
You're there to move weight. So you learn how to manipulate your body, shorten your range of motions, find your strongest path. I mean, there's a lot to it besides just
is there.
laying down. And I've kind of explained things over the years.
You've blown me away with. It's kind of like arm wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it
very
from the
similar.
outside, people don't know, and you're like, okay, you just hook arms, and then you pull against the strongest guy puts it down. They have no idea the amount of technique.
Yes.
There is so much technique that goes into that. The same with, to me, you lay down, you take the bar off, you touch your chest, you push it back up. Oh no,
There's nothing.
When you guys get into tell me about putting chains on there and stacking boards and the bottom of the lift versus the middle or the upper, and how you get your feet underneath you and arching your back and squeezing your shoulder blade and and all the other things that it's crazy the amount of technique that goes into a lift that on the outward appearance is a very simple thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And my back and legs and, on heavy bench days when I was really going all the time, I'd be sore for 3 days, 2 days. My whole body would hurt just from bench pressing.
Because you're putting your whole body into
everything. Yeah, my legs and my back and my.
So you're doing meets. You're doing well at this point. You're like, hey, I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah.
I could. This is something I'm good at. When did you go to your first world meet? I mean, had you set state? Had you got a state championship at that point?
Well, state records.
You'd set state records.
Yeah,
and
I'm reading Powerlifting USA. I finally, I'm kind of cheap. I don't know if you know that or not.
thrifty.
We'll call it thrifty. And I would never buy a subscription to it. And I finally.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I know. And so finally, I get my magazine. And
you actually subscribe to it.
I know.
Oh wow.
I know.
Now we know you're serious.
Big timing.
Yeah.
And so Wabdal had a world championship in Vegas every year. 800 lifters, it was a big deal.
It's legit.
Yeah, several days worth of lifting. And I thought, I'm going to try it just to see. And of course they move it to Reno and, which still was a good time.
Sure.
And, so I fly out there and really don't know what I'm doing. And some other guys I know, that trained like Roger Ryan, he was out there at the same time. We were helping some guys from the U of I at one time, some of the kids from the U of I, some of those were out there. So, I knew people.
Right.
But I end up, I don't know what I benched, in the fives, low fives. I weighed like 210, 215, I think is what I weighed in.
Okay.
At. So I was a 220 lifter. I didn't try to cut any weight or anything.
Okay.
And was in a shirt, of course. And at that time, that was probably, I was very strong at that time. Raw. I have no idea. I've never maxed out raw since, I was,
sure,
very young kid. And, getting nothing out of my shirt, and these guys, I get destroyed. Like I benches like 700 and something at 220 and he's in a double ply and I have no idea any of this,
Yeah.
You're
getting ready to walk into a whole new world.
Yeah. So I get my butt handed to me. I got second place, but I was happy with it,
Well, yeah, second place in a world championship. That's
and there was in my division, there was, I don't know, 5-6 lifters.
right. So you were lifting. Doesn't it go by age and weight class?
Yeah.
And then you were at that time doing the
law fire,
the law enforcement and firefighter
yes.
division. Okay.
And so I want to say, when I talk about world records, and I always joke anybody can get a world record. There's so many divisions.
No, right.
And,
I get it.
It's
But at the
it's
same,
not an all-time world record.
But still, you're competing against other power lifters at that same age, weight.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's legitimate. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's the world record or the world championships in Reno, Nevada. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's not like it's,
Right.
you know, my basement between Cowden and Herrick, you know.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Guys set world records and, you know,
At home.
those little backyard meets. You
Oh,
know, there's
yeah.
4 people. And
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's like anything.
And that's part of the reason when I became a better lifter, I quit doing small meets. You know, like the SLP meets. Those are a great place to start. And I felt it wasn't fair for me to show up at your gym.
And blow everybody out.
Yes.
Because you've been training, you've been learning
Yes.
the techniques and yeah, I see what you're saying.
So why would I go? It'd be like why would I come there and
It'd be like a UFC champion coming in and wanting to fight in a local cage match
yes.
at the high school.
Yeah. People are going to show up or they're going to get disheartened, you know. Well,
Right.
I got beat by, this guy benches 200 pounds more than I do.
Right.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
You know, so.
Sure. So you go out, you got second in the world, but you still weren't happy with it. Now at this point, that's when you start learning the secrets, the techniques, right.
I get a little more, I dive a little deeper into it. And my workout, my weight set that I bought in 1988 had a book. And that book has basically been my workout since 1988. I try to explain that to people and that it works.
Which we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that, workouts and stuff.
But so, got more guys, coming and training with us. Word kind of gets out. People in Taylorville have no idea that any of this is going on.
Like most things.
And so there was the Metal Militia out of New York. And they were, at that time, bench pressing, they were it. And they would do seminars on
Right.
teaching people how to, the correct way to bench, their style of bench and their workouts and, all that stuff. So we set up a seminar with Sebastian Burns, fly him into Taylorville, have these people. I mean, we had people from Kentucky, Indiana, Iowa. I mean, we had people from all over the place.
Right.
And we'd go through our seminar, and I learned some techniques, and, I think I was in the, back then, DVDs. I forget what it was called. Underground Strength DVDs. I think Volume 5 is the one that,
Right.
a bunch of my stuff was in.
Oh, that's cool. So, yeah. So
back-
now you're rubbing elbows with
Yeah.
the best in the world.
Yes.
Okay.
And, I always had open invite to come out at,
Right.
for a month or whatever and train. And,
Sure.
nobody had, not everybody, but a lot of people wouldn't believe that I was drug free. I'm like, I don't take, I eat sandwiches.
Right.
That's,
Right. Yeah.
I eat a lot of sandwiches.
Well,
I don't even take protein shake or creatine, I just,
a lot of that's natural. And what was it, your dad or your grandfather that could jump up like the beams that run in like out in a barn?
it was my grandpa's neighbor.
Oh,
My grandpa would always tell me that story.
Oh, okay. I thought it was your grandpa.
No,
Okay.
my grandpa
All
was, his hands were super strong.
Okay.
And my dad's
right.
very strong.
Well, then it's on your mom's side too.
Yeah.
You kind of get it
Yeah.
coming both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, so you're rubbing elbows with the big guys. You go back out to the world meet.
I think I took a year off maybe from a world. I'm trying to remember how, my timeline. Because there was a meet called Bench America that was on Fox Sports. And that kind of pushed me. And then I think I took a year off.
Did you do that one?
Well, I'll get to that. So then, I'm trying to remember what year that was. That would have been 05 or 06. 05, I think. So Bench America is single ply, and they're going to make it drug tested. And man, I was like a 198, a legit 198, no weight cut, no anything. And benching, I think I did like 565 for reps.
Holy cow.
So I was there.
Man.
And then my elbow just blew up. So I had a meet in Chicago, just kind of a test meet is what it was, because I was going to fly to Dallas, and Bench America had qualifier meets. So I was going to fly to Dallas, get my qualifier in, because I was expecting to go, at 198, I was going over 6. That's where I'm at. And start having all these elbow issues. And I go to Chicago, and it's like the world's longest meet. I mean, it was, we were there all day, all night. Jennifer still,
Right.
that broke her, I think.
Yeah.
But, and it was a huge meet. I mean, it was a who's who of,
Right.
Becca Swanson, the first woman to ever bench 500 pounds. That was the meet she did that at. It was a big meet.
Right.
Untested. I'm clean, but it's untested. Those are fun to go to.
Right. I bet. Yeah.
And it's fun when you win those.
Right.
Because they get mad.
Right. Yeah.
But, and not that I win a lot of them, but, so I go back in the warm up room. I'm getting ready. I put 315 on there. I do it like 5 times. Sit it down and sat there for a second, walked out, changed my opener to 303, and that's all I did. Walked out, benched 303 because my elbow was swollen up, and that kind of, I had to take some time off from that. And,
right.
Eventually got it kind of fixed.
Right.
But
that
really slowed me down for a long time with that elbow. And it was just scar tissue mostly. I had active release therapy done on it, and
helped
quite a bit.
Right.
Then from there, I kept going, and 2 more worlds, one in 06. Yep, 06 in Vegas. And I won that one.
So now you got first in the world. That had to be cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
You win a
Yeah.
world championship.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man,
Yep. Got some sponsorships out.
Yeah.
I used to get. They're not even in business anymore. But I used to get free water all the time. I'd come home from work and there'd be like 4 cases of water on my door.
Yeah.
I had a couple other ones. That I got free stuff. Free equipment. And
Sure.
different things from.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of them are even in business. Probably.
Yeah, but I mean, just to be able to call yourself a world champion at anything to me is cool.
Yeah.
And legitimately,
Right. And then in 07, I flew out to Anaheim, California, and they had a world meet out there, and I won it. And then I'm trying to think, I think it was 07 or 08.
Oh, this chair keeps squeaking on me. Carter's going to hate that.
He's going to get mad at you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Carter. But in 08, I did a meet in Collinsville, a Wobdle meet, and that's when I broke my world record. I did 635, 634.6 or something kilos.
What is that the most you ever lifted in a meet?
In a meet, yeah.
Like a legitimate
yeah.
that counts for your record, 635.
And
Holy cow.
I attempted a 655 after that, and I lost my groove. I kind of probably got too excited or something,
right.
But I felt strong that day, I really did.
So how many years total was your competitive career, would you say?
I think my last meet was in 9 or 10, I think.
So probably 7 or 8 years.
7 or 8 years, yeah.
I mean, at that level.
Yeah,
at the top level.
Yeah.
For young kids starting out, and let's go athletic. Let's not go just, they're trying to be a power lifter, but let's go for athleticism. Okay. What would you recommend, like lift? What are the most important lifts overall?
Squat.
Okay.
For an athlete, I think probably squat is.
So.
And, you get into the Olympic lifts, and those things are great, except for nobody knows how to do them.
Right.
I've seen football coaches and I've seen kids try that stuff, and they have no clue what they're doing. They're too technical.
You're talking like the clean and jerk, snatch, the stuff that you watch the Olympics.
Yes.
Right.
And that stuff for explosive power is great.
Right.
But nobody knows how to do it.
Would you say it's because you talk to any young man that's into sports and athletics, and it's every month or two, they got a new exercise, they got a new program they're on. They're
the worst thing you can do.
Right.
You get a program, run it till it stops working. And if it stops working, you make subtle changes to that. You don't change the whole thing. At least I never did. I mean, you can run phases of, for 3 months, I'll work on strength. For 3 months, I'm going to work on endurance. For 3 months, that's okay. But like for strength run it till it quits. That's my personal opinion. Make subtle changes, maybe change from 3 reps to 5, or back your weight back down, start over. I mean, there's things to do. Progressive overload. It's really simple. I mean, there are better ways probably to do it, but that's the simplest way.
Okay. What lifts? Because the kid's not just going to do squats. They're going to, I mean, is it the major lifts, squats?
Yeah, squat, bench,
deadlift,
overhead press, pull-ups. I'm a huge pull-up guy. I'm a huge dip guy.
Military press
to the front.
Right.
You know, or some sort of standing overhead press.
Curls. Straight bar curls.
Yeah. I mean, you got to throw those in for kids.
Right.
You know, I didn't do a lot of curls. And,
right.
You know.
Well, you do curls for girls, they always say.
Yeah.
You know?
Or I did a rose for the hose.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Same difference, I guess.
Thing,
yeah.
That's what, you know, and that's where I got, you know, I don't have a tiny arms, but most of it was from pull-ups, chin-ups. You know, I did weighted everything.
Right.
Weighted dips to, you know. But yeah, the main lifts are the main compound movements for kids.
What repetition range?
For me, it's 3 to 5.
Because you're going for power.
For power.
Would you recommend the same thing for a kid? Do a warm-up set and then do sets of.
Yeah, do a few warm-up sets, and that 3 to 5 rep range is, I mean, it's going to get you strong, and ultimately, strength is.
That's what you want.
That's what you want,
right?
You know, we're not, as an athlete, I think kids worry too much about what they look like. Well, are you an athlete or are you a model?
Right.
Do you want to perform or do you want to look pretty?
Sure.
You know, I mean, you can add a little bit to that, but.
So you're saying, like, if they do lighter weight for more repetitions, that's going to give them more of a pump, theoretically.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, it all works because, you know, you look at power lifters, they don't look weak.
No.
They're big, strong dudes. They have big muscles.
Yes.
Now, they may not be cut up and shredded like a bodybuilder, but obviously, you know, and when you're a high school kid or even a college kid, for the most part, you're pretty skinny.
Yes.
If you're an athlete.
Right. Should be.
Yeah.
You know.
And so anything they're going to do. Okay, so 3 to 5, and how many?
And I, like, when I say like 3 reps, I'm saying 85% of your 1 rep max for 3. You know, it's all percentage based, you know. 5 sets of 3 is what I used to do. And then as I got older and became a more experienced lifter, it's kind of weird. You kind of do less. You know, it seems like you would do more to become, but you've already built that. You've already built that base. You got to build that base. And so I would do, like in my heavy days, 3 sets of absolute, you know, effort.
Right.
You know, 3 really good work sets. And then I would come down and do like a set of 20 of something on my main lift.
I'll be done.
Or whatever. That's,
yeah.
Which is funny because at one time, you know, 135 was, man, I did 135 for 20.
Right.
And then, you know, as you get stronger, 135 doesn't work anymore. So I got to where I would go to 315 is what my 20 would be.
And how many times could you do 315?
At the end of a workout, like 17, 18.
Man, that's crazy. That's pretty good. So, all right. And then how many sets would you say you're doing? 5 sets?
Yeah. Like, you know, like
3 or to 5?
5 to 3 sets.
And you're doing that on every lift. You would recommend this for every lift?
Yeah.
For kids?
For kids.
Whether you're doing bench press, overhead press,
yes,
everything. Okay.
Yep.
I know you're a sandwich eater.
Yeah, I like the sandwich.
But what is there any supplements that you would recommend that, because, you know, everything's a marketing gimmick and some things, you know, like I know creatine works. I think that everybody knows that's just known.
And there's
and protein powder works.
Protein powder works. I mean, it's better to get it from your food. You know, when I broke my world record, I don't think I was even taking a protein shake. No creatine, no nothing.
Just eating a lot of protein.
A lot of protein.
Steaks, eggs.
Yep, eggs, peanut butter sandwiches, and, you know, tuna and beef. A lot of, you know, hamburger or whatever, you know.
Sure.
That's cheap.
Right.
And it was hard in corrections with diet.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Because you can't bring, you know, I couldn't bring all this food in, you know.
Right.
Back when we were on 3 to 11, you know, I would sneak my can of tuna into the prison.
Right.
You know, my 10 crackers and my can of tuna so I could eat it at 9 o'clock.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
again, it's really there's no secrets to it.
No, I think social media has ruined it, because they're trying to sell things, and I get that, but the basics work. And I recommend, for me, I tell everybody Jim Windler 531. That's as close to what I would write for you.
Okay, say that name again.
Jim Windler.
Jim Windler.
Windler.
Okay,
yeah.
so any young man that might be or lady that wants to,
for
or
women,
anybody, I guess.
Yeah. 531 is the easiest program to follow. You can download an app. It does all your weights for you. It's simple and it works. It's slow. You're not going to get fast overnight, but you'll get fast over time. And that's ultimately it's a marathon, not a sprint. You won't get strong in a week. So it's the best.
Well, and it's like, and you and I have talked about this, whenever, I was doing jujitsu all the time. You want to get good at jujitsu, people, well, what weights should I lift and what lifts should I be doing? And of course there's things that can accentuate it because you're not going to live in a dojo the whole time or your gym, but the reality is if you want to get better at jujitsu, go do jujitsu. Yes. Yep. If you want to get better at bench press, go do bench press. Yes. If you want to get better at squats, do squats. I mean, sometimes I think we're trying to reinvent the wheel on a lot of this stuff when anything's better than nothing.
Yes.
If you're doing sets of 10, that's better than doing no sets.
Yep. And those, look at those guys in the 70s that were lifting weights. Some of those powerlifters were enormous and strong.
Right.
They had something figured out.
Yeah.
Right. Things don't change.
Right. Yeah. We're still human.
Yeah.
Okay, shifting gears here. Okay. The bike ride across Missouri. I got to talk about this. You just rode your bike across the state of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to do it.
Yeah, and I've always, I always lifted weights, but I always did cardio too.
Right.
Which everybody will tell you, oh, you can't. I didn't run because my ankles messed up, but I rode a bike. I would ride from Taylorville to Pana or, sometimes 40.
Which is 15 mile, 20 mile.
Well, from where I lived at, round trip was right at 50.
Well, I guess you got to come back, yeah.
If I'd go to Dairy Queen and eat and then come home, it was right at 50 miles.
So you ride the bike to go get Dairy Queen, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? Hey, you know what? You're working it off.
Yeah. Taylor Dairy Queen doesn't sell cheeseburgers. So.
Yeah.
But I always rode a bike, always walked. Walking has always been my form of cardio for cutting weight.
Right.
Which, everyone would tell me I was wrong. But now, that's the thing. That's what everybody preaches. But that's always, it's always been my thing. Brisk walk, 30, 40 minutes. That's how I cut weight. On top of...
So a couple miles then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On top of, I would also do some HIIT training on a stationary bike, pedal as hard as I could pedal for 30, 40 seconds till I thought I was going to die. Coast for 30, 40 seconds. And then do, 5 or 6 minutes of intervals. As hard, and absolutely as hard as I could. Those are the two things I would use to cut weight for powerlifting. Or if I want to start cutting weight, I would add those things in. Clean my diet up a little bit.
Just to get healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so I was working a ton of overtime. And my cousin moved to Alabama, 15, 16 years ago. And I always joked that when I retire, I'm just going to ride my bicycle down there to see him. Well, I'm walking one day out in the country where I live, and I'm like, oh, crap. That's like next year. And
it's coming up.
So I go home, and I start thinking about it, and I start looking on the internet and trying to figure out how I would ride my bicycle to Alabama. How would I get there? So I start looking at all this stuff, and I don't like riding busy roads. I ride a lot of gravel roads and country roads, but still even that sometimes I've had... Actually, someone we worked with one time about got me. We talked about it later, but
that's what would worry me is all the idiots out there.
And I run a mirror now on my bike, so I can see. I'm constantly looking to see if somebody's coming, and I'll slow way down and get over as far as I can. I try to wear bright colors. I got flashing lights. I got really want to get ran over. I wear a helmet.
Right.
A guy that we used to work with, which. He retired right about the time he got hired, Grover Everett. He had gotten killed on his bicycle.
Yeah, I remember.
And that's when I really started wearing a helmet. But so anyway, I'm thinking, how in the world would I get to Alabama? Well, I can't figure it out. I'm looking at routes and trying to figure it out. And which leads you down the rabbit hole of, I wonder if there's any long bicycle trails. You know, I'd never looked at this stuff. You know,
Right.
I've had the same bicycle for 20 years.
Sure.
I find the longest rail trail in the United States is in Missouri, the Katy Trail. It's 240 miles, and it has all these little towns with restaurants, and you can camp at different. There's campsites, and there's all these things. I thought that'd be
Perfect.
kind of neat.
Yeah.
And they have, you know, shuttle services. It'll take you to the one end, drop you off, so you can ride back to your car. You know, it's a whole economy on this thing.
Right.
And it really breathes some life into these small towns.
Sure.
Because the railroad's gone. These towns,
Yep.
they're dying.
Well,
You know,
all the towns-
rural America is dying.
Boy, it is.
So I start thinking, maybe I could do that. Because, you know, as I get into this, reading things, you know, and I see how other people do things, and like they call it stealth camping, which I have no desire to do. They'll be riding down the road and wait till it gets dark, and then find some timber and throw their tent up, sleep overnight, and then get up early in the morning and ride off. Well, I'm never going to do that. You know,
That's a good way to get shot.
that's what I think.
Yeah.
So that's how a lot of those people do it.
Right.
You know, and they have interactions with the police and
Of course
landowners.
they do.
You know,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do that. So I like a nice campground. You know,
You want to do it legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
As drama free as possible.
absolutely. You know, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't like drama.
No.
So I thought, man, when I retire, I'm going to do that. That'd give me a time to kind of deload and get prison out of my system, maybe.
Sure.
And I thought, well, I'm not going to push it hard, and I'm too cheap to pay for a shuttle. So I decided I'm going to ride from St. Charles, Missouri, which
Is that where it starts?
it starts actually in Machins or Mawkins, which is 12, 15 miles east of St. Charles towards the river.
Well, that's where Lewis and Clark, St.
Yeah.
Charles, where they started there.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about the Katy Trail, and it ends in Clinton, Missouri.
Okay.
So it goes through Jefferson City,
Yeah.
Columbia, you know, south of Columbia, Sedalia.
Right. Yeah.
So as you ride, there's little signs along the trail, you know, in whatever 1804, June 6th, 1804, Lewis and Clark were here, and this is what happened. So, you know,
How awesome is that?
So
yeah,
I-
as a fan of history,
Yeah.
it's like,
I stop and read every one of
Sure.
them, you know.
Yeah.
And then you get to, I forget what the name of the town is now, but that's the start of the Santa Fe Trail.
I'll be darned.
So, you know, I got to stop and look at that. And,
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
know. But my plan was to ride out to Clinton, turn around, and ride back to my truck. So do the whole thing, you know, be probably 500 miles. And everything all my food, all my water, you know, of course, I refill water as I go because I can't carry, you know, that much water. But
So you rode out and back then. Okay.
well, that was the plan. And then I get to Sedalia and I start checking the weather, and there's this huge storm front coming in, and they're talking 70-mile-an-hour winds, wind gusts, tornadoes, large damaging hail, and I'm camping. I'm like, man, I don't really,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to be camping under some tree and, you know,
Get struck by lightning
Yeah.
or a tornado comes. Yeah.
large damaging hail.
Sure.
And tear up my tent and tear up, you know, I mean, just at the minimum, tear up my stuff.
Right.
And so that day, the next day I ride from Sedalia to Clinton, turn around, come back, and I end up staying at a hotel that night downtown, and caught an Amtrak in Sedalia to Jefferson City, or not Jefferson City, but Washington, Missouri. And then from Washington, Missouri, had to get back to the trail, cross the river, and then rode to St. Charles, and then raced the storm all the way home. And then we got hammered. But
Yeah.
yeah, they got hit pretty hard.
Really.
That was that storm that had in Iowa that had all those tornadoes, and back in May, first part of end of May, right there at the end of May.
Dalton and I went out to Idaho. You went after. I think I got back from that trip maybe because, you know, he wanted to go see Napoleon Dynamite's
Yeah.
house, and we did all that. And there was that big one that went through Nebraska and Iowa and, well, the northern part of Missouri. And we just missed that because one of my buddies in the Army, Mike, he got a hold of me, and he's like, hey, man, you know, you doing all right? Because they knew, you know, I was kind of, my Army buddies, I was kind of keeping them, you know.
Right.
We've got a group chat, which we just came back from 2 weeks ago. Misty and I were up with my one buddy up in Michigan, and there was 5 of us that got together with the wives and everything. And he's got a place up there, like a lodge,
Right.
and we went out and it was good seeing him. We floated down the Au Sable River, and we just kind of hung out, and it was a really good time. You know, my buddy Sam, I hadn't seen him since 1994. You know,
Yeah.
so. But I remember those storms. There was a whole series of them
Yes.
because, like I said, we were in Nebraska and we dodged one, and then it seemed like there was several. And I knew you were right around. I think you were a week or 2 after us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that time frame. It was a lot of crazy weather going through there. But
Yeah. So coming out of Washington, Missouri, you know, and I'm on the Amtrak's down low towards the river, so I got to ride uphill. You know, it's pretty hilly, Missouri,
yeah,
and get up.
because you're in the northern edge of the Ozarks, kind of.
Yeah,
you're not really
but-
the Ozarks, but it's still hilly.
Yeah, but the bike trails are flat.
Okay.
Because trains can
Right.
only run,
Well, yeah.
4% grade,
Sure.
or 5%. 5 is usually the max.
Okay.
So it might be a long 4%, but it's pretty flat. It's not real hilly. But so I get out of Washington, get off the Amtrak. That's the first time I'd ever ridden an Amtrak, and
That's kind of cool.
yeah, I have my bike and everything on it.
Oh, really?
They have bike racks for that.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
That's neat.
So I got to get onto the highway and across the river, or not, to this country road that'll get me back to the trail. And I'm loaded heavy. I'm comfortable when I camp.
Right.
I've got a little chair. I've got,
Sure.
I'm way more stuff than I need. And I carry a lot of water just in case. And I'm coming out of Washington at like 33 miles an hour on a fully loaded bicycle on the interstate, or not but the highway. I'm hitting brakes and trying to get it slowed down, and
hold on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. For me, that was fast because like I said, I got probably 60 pounds worth of bags hanging off of my
Sure.
bike, and broken beer bottles everywhere.
Oh, man, yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
But no, I think I rode 350 miles is what I ended up riding.
That's cool.
And then 2 weeks ago, I went down to Southern Illinois and rode the Tunnel Hill Trail. And it's 49 miles one direction. I camped at Fern Cliff.
Do you know? Have you heard about Snake Road down there? Have you seen anything on that?
Yeah.
I
I'd
just
like to go
watched-
see it.
I just watched a thing on that last night. I want to go down there.
I do too.
We got to go down there. I just want to see it.
I do too.
That looks just cool as all get out to me. Yeah, it's neat when you do all these little adventures,
Right.
because you and we've camped and hunted across this great country of ours, and you think when you go there, like when we went down to Texas, all the funny stuff that happened on that trip.
Oh, yeah.
But then you think we hit the Alamo,
Yeah.
and you're getting ready for a bike ride. Well, you're doing your homework. You're learning. I mean, there's a lot of geography that goes in. Where
Yes.
am I going to stop? You got to think about
Get
the
my
logistics.
distance. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And next week, actually, I'm leaving again. I'm going to South Dakota.
Oh,
I'm going to ride the Mickelson Trail. It goes from Edgemont, South Dakota, to Deadwood, through Custer State Park, through the Black Hills,
man, that's beautiful country.
past Crazy Horse. So I'm going to ride that.
Man, that's twisting and turning though. Then watch them silly cars.
Well, it's on the rail trail.
Oh, okay. So
So-
now is that you just stick pretty much to
to that because
man? That's smart.
because I don't want to get run over.
Yeah, and you will
Yeah.
eventually. You will.
You will.
Somebody's
It's
going to hit
a matter
you.
of time. So it's 109 miles one direction. So
Moving on.
I'll ride one way. It'll take me 4 days is what my plan is.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'm going to drive down to Manitou Springs and climb the Manitou Incline again.
You did that when we where
When
oh
I-
the
Kansas. When I-
turkey. Yeah, we
yeah.
went on that turkey hunt.
Yeah.
And I remember you went out there and did that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I did it this will be my third time.
I'll be darned.
And physically, I'd say that like that first time especially, it's probably the hardest thing I ever did.
No kidding.
I didn't train for it.
Right.
I just showed up, and it's 2,000 feet of elevation gain in less than a mile.
Wow.
It goes from 68 to 88. We're at 6.
So you're already at a mile. You're
Yeah,
over a mile
over a
in the
mile.
air
Yeah.
starting out.
Yeah.
Air starts getting a little thin, doesn't it?
Yeah. 2,800 steps. Railroad ties. Some of those are doubles, and
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Test your manhood a little
Yeah.
bit. I remember whenever me and you were out in Wyoming, we were shot an antelope. We're dragging that back to the truck, and I'm just like, man, this hair's a little thin. It's like, yeah. You know, I don't know what elevation we were at, but you know, probably I don't know 3,000 to 4,000. I guess
probably maybe a little more now.
Yeah, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah,
because you don't realize the whole time you're going west, you're going up.
Yeah,
you think that the plains are just flat.
Yeah,
and they are, but they're flat at an angle.
Yes.
Yeah, you're driving up the whole time. So, yeah, that's cool. Well, we're getting ready to head into hunting season here before long. Are you ready?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never are.
And I've been doing the doe hunt again, the management.
Oh yeah, on
last
your family's ground.
Yeah, and I don't like doing that. But,
right.
You know,
but
actually I haven't shot anything yet, but
right. You got your permits too.
Yeah.
Well, that bow up there. That's what I'm going to use. I don't know if I'm going to use it this year. I need to do more practicing. Wyatt was shooting with it the other day and broke the string on it.
Oh,
so I got another string coming.
Which kind is that?
And I don't even know.
Because I
got it up at Shields.
Okay.
It's I think 50 or 55 pounds. It's crazy. My shoulder is shot like I would need surgery.
Right.
I cannot pull a compound bow anymore, but I can pull a recurve and shoot it just fine. There's something about the angle when I'm pulling a compound, when it breaks, or even lightweight. It's something about when it's breaking over. I don't know, but I can shoot a recurve fine.
Huh.
It's strange. I don't know,
That's
but
weird.
I don't know if I'm going to hunt with it this year. But
that's honestly my plan.
Yeah,
is I've always said that the next bow I buy will be a recurve.
Yeah, sticking a string, man.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. I've not taken a deer with it yet, but I don't know. Like I said, I need to practice a lot more with it. Because I want to get, how it is. You want to get good. With
absolutely.
It. But now, do you still bow hunt or just crossbow?
Well, I had my bow out, and of course, I got some issues with it again. I need to take it in, so I'll probably end up having to use Julia's hot pink crossbow.
Yeah,
which I don't like using.
It's weird. Because you and I have discussed this many times. I've killed deer with pistols, muzzleloaders, shotguns, bow, crossbow. I've killed them with about everything but a shrimp fork.
Yep. And
shooting them with a crossbow does not bother me. And I know a lot of guys, man, they just hate that.
Right.
And to me, I get excited during shotgun season. Man, when a buck comes in, and I get just as excited as I do when I shoot one with a bow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I understand that a lot of guys get upset because, there's a lot of guys that are hunting with crossbows that wouldn't be killing deer if they had a bow in their hand.
Right.
And that's true.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're really running out of deer.
And the longest I've ever shot a deer with a crossbow was like 27 yards.
Right.
I don't.
Sure.
I don't ever take long shots with anything.
Yeah, I don't either.
Longest I've ever shot with a regular bow was like 30, 31.
Yeah.
I shot a doe one time.
Right.
Most everything I kill is 20 yards or less.
Yep.
I shot one with a pistol at like 12 or 15.
Right.
I'm not.
Yeah, that's the goal, is to let everything get in as close as you can.
Yeah, I'm hunting, not shooting.
That's exactly right. And
I'm not saying I killed a deer one time like 130 with a shotgun, but
right.
It's the only time I've ever done that.
We ought to plan something else. I'll tell you what, I like that trout fishing, and we can shoot over there in Missouri and go catch some trout.
Yeah.
Spend a night, get a hotel. We can do it comfortable now. We ain't got to rough it anymore.
No
But we ought to do that or set up some kind of a hunt. I've been thinking, well, I'll talk to you. You know,
we'll figure something out.
We ought to do another couple adventures.
Yeah.
But anyway, Wayne, man, I appreciate you coming in here today. Is there anything else you got on your mind that you want to talk about? Or
no, I don't think so.
I think we covered it all. I appreciate you coming in, my friend.
It's
good to see you. It's nice to see you keeping yourself in shape. You're going to motivate me to drop my weight and get back in shape.
Yeah.
And, man, I'd like to have you come down again sometime.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do it again.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Wayne.